Howdy, YouTubers, and welcome to Subscriber Series number 4. On Subscriber Series, I like to feature viewers and subscribers who want to share their ideas. And on today's Subscriber Series number 4, we're going to feature Roy Sharpe talking about scratch building structures. And Roy was featured on Subscriber Series number 1 talking about airbrush techniques, and there was quite a bit of interest in that. And Roy is in the process of getting ready with his layout and his YouTube channel. So as Roy starts to get his channel together, I'll make sure I keep you informed so that you can check him out and subscribe. But you will see his YouTube handle on the screen. So make sure you keep an eye out for Roy's channel so that when he starts loading up content. So Roy and I have been collaborating for a while. We became friends. He was a subscriber and we share ideas, and Roy is out of the kindness of his heart, he's scratch building an engine facility, or sorry, a yard crew change facility for the new extension on my layout. So he's going to feature that in this subscriber series. So feel free to leave comments, and Roy will look at those and get back to you, or I can answer those as well. So let's take a look. Enjoy.
So in this video, what I'm going to do is show you some basic techniques on how to scratch build a simple structure. So what we're going to do is turn this stuff, plastic card, in this case embossed brick card, but there'll be various other plastic cards used, into this, which is a crew change facility, complete with an interior that will be lit, and then some of the processes I've used and the research that went into this particular building, because this building does not exist in the real world. It uses a few kind of concepts and such like from a prototype that is actually a packaging company over here in the United Kingdom at a local wholesale market to myself. So I've used some of the concepts which I've explained in the video to produce this fairly small building, but beautifully detailed, really pleased with it, and then there will be a follow-on video on how to paint it. So let's get into it. Let's start cutting plastic card. So we've got the plastic card cut out, and this is one of the ends of the building. So this will be the rear of the building. So as we see on the image that I've taken off Google Earth, there's a door here and a couple of windows. Now remember, I am not trying to replicate this image absolutely brick for brick. This is kind of just inspiration. So what I'm going to do now is take this Preiser figure that I've painted up, painted bright yellow so I don't lose it, although I still managed to lose it. We'll call him Paul. There you go, that's Paul. And I'm going to use Paul to kind of guesstimate, if you like, dimensions. Now of course, if you're using castings, Teacher Train Group castings, doors, windows, or wherever you use Grant Line, then obviously if you're cutting a hole into the end wall, it's got to be well exactly the right size for the casting that you're using. But this is a door that we're going to make ourselves. It's a roller shutter security door, so we have a little bit of leeway. Now, doors in the United Kingdom, exterior doors are typically 6'6". They're slightly bigger in America, if I remember correctly. But if we measured out 6'6" scale-wise, you may find it looks silly against the figure. So what I use is the figure to gauge what looks right. And we're going to go about yay high. And let's see. If we go with my trusty steel ruler, if we go for something in the region of 15 millimeters, and we mark on 15 millimeters. That's a little bit wide, so you know what, we're going to take it down to about 30 millimeters. Get Paul, yeah, that looks bang on. So now what we do is using the brick courses to kind of guide where the ruler goes, and we're sorted. So that is going to be the doorway. Again, we'll just pop Paul there. Now, either side of the door, there's some steel door surrounds. It is a security door at the end of the day. So although the hole that we cut out is quite large, it's not going to be so large as to look silly. quick discussion about tools. I use Swan Morton blades. They're a big company over in the United Kingdom. You may get them in America. And this is a proper Swan Morton blade handle. It's a number 3 handle. And these are some cheap eBay, I don't know, knockoffs or whatever. And they are not by Swan Morton. In this, the blade will buzz around. And in this, the blade doesn't. These are designed for surgical use. And I guess when the surgeon's doing some fairly intricate work, and I was a scrub nurse once, so I've seen surgeons use these, you need a blade that stays still. Don't buy cheap when you're looking at buying a tool. Stump up the cost and get the proper kit. So, using my marker, just mark at the top if I've not drawn the line, or drawn a line that will be obscured by the ruler. So I don't get sued. Blades are sharp, shock horror, don't cut yourself. If you're not capable of using a blade, get somebody that is. There you go. I think that's probably protecting me legally. And if it hasn't, sorry. Right. And again, just several light strokes, take your time. There we go. And then just link up. And that's where that little pink dot comes in handy, because the ruler just obscures the line. Snap and snap, and keep that, because hey, this stuff's expensive. There you go, that is absolutely bang on. Once you've got the door surrounds and such like in place, happy bunny time. Great. So when you look at the image of the back, there's 2 windows. There's an image of the side of the building which I've shown you, with a chap who's about 6 foot, shall we say. So that gives me some kind of rough idea what I'm looking at window wise. So these are industrial 27 pane, remember correctly, windows. They can't be 27, can they? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20 panes. I lied to you folks, these are 20 pane industrial windows. I haven't got all of Teacher Train Group's windows yet. I intend to, but I haven't yet. So I make do. And what we're going to do is use one of the the small tilting sections as my main window. So let's have a look. When we look at the image, the top of the window, the supporting concrete above the window, is the same size, same height, my apologies, same height as the top of the door. Now the top of the door has got a bit of a security shutter assembly going on up there, or some rain cover or such like. I'm not going to have that. I'm just going to have I don't know, just a lintel. That's the word I am groping for, a lintel. So what I'm going to do is just mark my line again. Don't forget, I'm allowed to use the word grope for on YouTube, but we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so then what I'll do is put my window roughly where I want it. Do I want it there? Now a little bit further over. So, just interjecting briefly, the beauty of scratch building is the fact that you can literally do what you want to. If you want a window moving slightly to the left, slightly to the right, omitting, adding a window where there wasn't a window, you're the guy or the girl. You can do what you want to, and that's the absolute beauty. So I wanted a window that was slightly different. That's what I've done. With Walthers, you get what the tool maker has given you. There are ways around that, but they're being blunt, too much trouble a lot of the time. So yeah, the absolute beauty of scratch building. Anyway, back to the video with the hands. Looking at the image, that's why I went quiet, because next to me is my 42-inch television, and on that 42-inch television is the image. And we mark. Now in an ideal world I would have a mechanical pencil, but I haven't. Let's get Paul there. Now they look a bit low to me. The chap's head is roughly at the top of, getting on for the top of the window. So we're going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go to probably about there. So that's a beauty with scratch building. You are literally building it how you want to build it. So let's have a look. Put a cross through that line so that I don't cut it, although I probably will end up doing so because hey, why not? And that looks a little bit better, but again we could probably go with one more course of bricks. And I know this sounds pedantic, but at the end of the day it needs to look right. It's no good spending all this time and energy and you're not happy with the final result. So what I'm going to do now is, using my number 10 blade in this Excel holder, is just do a cut. Now I'm using the bricks again to line up, so cut there. Now you can't see it too well on camera I'm sure, but the line is fairly obvious where it is. Mount up. Now the blade has got a wedge section and a flat back. That's how it does its cutting action. So what we're going to do is put the flat back against the casting and just press down, and again line up, and happy days. So when we look at that, we're going to follow that line along, and I found using a flat blade like this a lot easier, a lot less fiddly than trying to line rulers up and use the Swan Morton blades, typically number 10 or 11, which are nice pointed blades. They've got a good point on that, so that show up very well, and they've sliced through, well, what we needed to slice through, let's put it that way. Okay, so that's good. So again, just line up the casting, flat back of the blade to the casting, and hopefully you'll be able to see that past my fat little fingers. Just press down, turn around, practice what I preach. Just this little section here to cut out. And again, keep the bits, you never know when they're going to come in handy. And you know what? I'm really quite happy with that. Now, it does need a slight trim up, so I'm going to just slightly trim it a little bit bigger. And again, with the number 10 blade, it's an absolute joy to do. Now, don't rush. Literally don't rush. And again, just take that little bit off. Perhaps half a brick. And using the magnifying glasses rather I should say, and this number 10 flat blade, and I'm fairly sure it's called number 10, and if it's not I will tell you what it is in the comments, but I'm fairly sure it's number 10 XL blade. And that is perfect, bish bosh, all lined up nicely. Happy bunny with that. So this is a finished panel, and what I've also done is, by enlarging the hole, of the window apertures, and that's a bit of a trial and error, but with the number 17 blade it's nice and easy. Take it nice and steady, just keep offering up your lintels and your sills using the brick as a reference, and if you're using plain sheet then draw a pencil line and just gently nibble away with your 17 blade. It really is very simple. Glue the lintels and the sills in place. The door is then glued in place, and that I have used some corrugated car siding. Any kind of corrugated looking material will do. I've even made my own out of individual plates, because some of them are made up of just a few different plates. And then we've got the sides, and they're made from 40 by 40 thou plastic, and all I do with that is offer it up at the top, blob of glue, put it taut once the glue's gone off a little bit, bit of glue at the bottom, and nibble off with a scalpel or a 17 blade and repeat on the other side. All I will add is at the back on this window, I've yet to do this window, use a scrap of the plastic card to give you a guide for your lintel and your sills to be back the same distance, so that when you glue your window in, which will be the next thing to do, they're recessed from the wall, which is prototypical, so the windows will look like they're set back from the wall, which is ideal. And then that panel is done, and it really is a case of looking at your reference photos and rinse and repeating the processes I've shown you to get the finished wall structures complete. So this is a finished building, and it's literally just the wall structures that we've looked at how to build, glued together, bit of internal bracing, that's not a problem. And you'll notice this little annex here which will have in due course a double door there, so that Paul and his friends can bob into work. And here's a bit of a confession, if you like. So if you look at that wall there, there you go, that wall there, it was going to be this wall. So I videoed it and it wasn't very good, the camera knocked out of focus, so I made another building, end wall, that I could video. But it turned out to be better than the original. So I've used the wall that I'd used just for video purposes, but I've got this wall knocking around. I don't like to waste stuff, so what I've done is added this annex that's the entrance, which will cover all of the doors and such like that I wasn't very happy with. Now what I'm going to do is add some architectural brickwork at the bottom and maybe at the top, but not to this extension. So the main building was built in 1950, and this will have been in 1980 or something like that. So I'm going to paint them when I get to painting, and that'll be in another video. Different bricks, different brick colour, fresher bricks, ones that haven't been exposed to the elements and such like for decades, like these bricks will have done. And the addition of the architectural brickwork on the main structure but not on the addition will also highlight the difference in the construction age. Now what I'm going to do is add extra details, which I'm going to obviously show you how I do, and this will elevate this model from, which is really quite a nice model, I'd like to think, from the kind of a plain Jane model to something that just looks a little bit special, if we like. Now you'll notice there's no roof, and what I've done is made a blank. Now this is going to be glued in place. On top of it though, before I glue it in place, I've got to put the roofing material, and I need to check with my customer, and that would be Paul, as to what he wants. Something like a modern steel cladding, or something a bit more old school like a bonded cement asbestos corrugated roof. I hope he goes for that option because I can weather that out beautifully, but we'll see what he wants. So the roof is waiting to be done, but I can crack on with the details for the rest of the building, which obviously I will chronicle for you now. So now we're going to the flat roof. So what I'm going to do with the flat roof is tar paper it. Initially I was going to have it as a concrete slab, which would be very easy, spray it at the appropriate concrete colour and weather it, but you know what, you're not here to see simple things other than me. So I'm going to tar paper it. Now what this stuff is tissue paper, not the stuff that you find in the toilet block, but the stuff that crafters use for all kinds of craft projects, but it's a much finer product. And what I do, I cut it into 6 foot lengths because, so Wikipedia tells me, 6 foot is a standard width of felt roofing material rolls in America. So funnily enough it's the same over here, although I think it's actually 2 meters, so we get an extra 6 inches. Let's leave that one there. So, and all I do is lay it on top of the plastic card, and I'm trying to do it so that you can see, and just flood it with your glue. Now what that will do is obviously seep into the tissue through to the underlying plastic and melt the plastic and stick the tissue in place. Now you may get wrinkles, and okay, you might get wrinkles. So you run your fingers over it and by and large the wrinkles go away. So this process is just repeated until all of your roof is done. Now I'm the first to admit this is a tedious job. However, like one of my old captains used to say when we did tentage in the army, and we all hated doing tents, learn to love it. Yeah, learn to love doing tents. And did we ever love doing tents? No, we all still hated it, but you know what? It made us feel better, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, if we just flood it and flood it and flood it, and then we let that dry. So we'll come back to that in a few minutes, and I'll just in fact it's already dry. However, we'll come back in a few minutes and just trim that up. Okay, so we've left it a few minutes. I'll just put my magnifying glasses on, and all we're going to do is run a nice sharp blade down and give it a nice neat edge. It's not critical that you have a nice neat edge because you are going to be putting edging boards on, but it will make the job a lot easier. Okay, is that fantastic? No, not fantastic. I've done better. However, once it's weathered up and we've put some gravel on the top and such like, it'll look absolutely fine. So no matter how much evergreen or whoever you use plastic strip, excuse me, you have, you've never quite got the right width. So in this case, for the edging strips to the flat roof, or the felt roof rather, because it will have a slight angle on it, typically 3 degrees is the minimum, so hardly perceptible, so not modelled. So we've got the strips now. And all we're going to do is glue these edging strips on the side. Now what I'm going to do first is just distress them slightly with a, in this case, quite a fine wet and dry. Do both sides because I'm bound to stick the wrong side on. And this, when you paint it, will give a bit of texture. A little bit of texture, and also help the paint adhere better. Okay, so let's stick these on and see what they look like. So here we can see the boards on the end. The tissue paper hasn't come out too badly at all once it's dried and it's had a coat of grey primer, really so that the detail stands out a little bit for when you guys and girls are kind of looking at the video. I've added a drain pipe, and in the roof there just a little hole. I've kind of augured out with the end of my number 11 Swan Morton blade. And just while I've got you on this section of the building, I've also added the two doors and the security tagging device. It is typically on the walls next to these things. However, so you've got your boards, you've got your felt, you've got your downpipe. The downpipe also has little brackets on that I've made by wrapping very, very thin masking tape around. Again, it doesn't show up too well on the video, but when I paint and weather, then it'll stand out a lot more then. So as you can see, this is the toilet block side of the building. I painted it grey so that hopefully the autofocus on the camera can pick out the details a bit better. So first of all, we've got the vent from the toilet, the kind of expel air kind of setup, and all that is literally a slice of some plastic rod glued to a square. And what I've done in each corner of the square is just slightly made an indent with the end of a drawing pin, or thumbtack I think you guys and girls call them. Then what we've got here is a very small length of plastic pipe coming out from the wall, and what that is, that's a toilet cistern. Do you call it faucets over there? You pull the handle, the water gushes down and you wave goodbye to whatever you've done. So I believe you call them faucets, but I could be wrong on that. So normally they come out from the wall a lot more. This is almost flush with the wall, and the idea is I'm going to have water stains down this wall to represent the growth of algae and such like from a leaking faucet or cistern, and the water goes. Soil pipe from the back of the toilet, and although you won't see it on here, you may see it once it's all painted up. There's actually a rodding point where a plumber would use rods to unblock any blockages, and all that is a piece of, again, plastic rod, bent, sliced, and then the slice that you've taken off just glued on the end. Then you've got some smaller pipe here that would come from a sink. This would be the gas vent, a gas boiler. Now, we have these things in the United Kingdom, and I know you'll have them in America, but they may work slightly differently. I don't know what your gas regulations are, but we have to have an external vent. Comes out of the wall. You can have it through the roof, but for the ease of construction, it's come out the wall. And then this thin pipe here is a condensation pipe from the boiler. They're called condenser boilers. I guess the clue is in the name. Condensation is formed, and regulations, building regs, say that it has to have a pipe that goes away to drain, which is what this is. But what's the point in lighting a room if you can't see anything in it that's worth looking at? So I've scratch built filing cabinets and a door, a notice board and a table and a waste paper bin there. And once the floor's wet and this is stuck in, there'll be, you know, bits of paper and cans of coke lying around, all that kind of stuff, so that when you do look through the window, you get a bit of a treat. It's you know, something you didn't expect to see, and there'll be one or two figures, and I may not, but I may try and form a sofa, because every mess room has to have a sofa in, which I'll put kind of there. You've got to crank your neck through the window to see it, but it will be there. And then the kitchen units, which are there. I don't know if that shows up particularly well. We'll do a forgotten frame. So the kitchen unit and that big long worktop is going to have a microwave on and some other detritus, cornflake pack and all that kind of stuff. And this is a kind of thing that adds just that little finishing touch. So that's the details. This is the interior that I've started on. There'll be nothing on this side. That's going to be dead. I have a life as well other than doing this building, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, but I do want it finishing by the time I retire, which is in a couple of years' time, all being well. That essentially is the build finished. And although I've not gone into detail on how you make perhaps a down pipe or a soil pipe or anything of that nature, a lot of this is self-explanatory, and really it's a mindset. So you look at a building, but when you start to scratch build, you look at a building and you think, I like that detail, I like how that's done, oh that's clever, I'll see what the builder did there. All these kinds of things start to pop into your mind, which is maybe a good thing, I don't know. I'm not clinically qualified to tell you. However, it means that when you build your buildings, you have a unique piece. No one else is going to have this. Well, alright, Paul's going to have it, it's built for Paul. A lot of the techniques and detail and such like that I've added can also be added to stock kits. So a Walthers or whoever, Fowler, Paul or whoever, building can certainly be improved by the addition of things like soil pipes and toilets and sink drain pipes and etc, etc. It's just a case of looking and deciding what you want to do and then having a play with how to do it. You can get by with just a few basic shapes. At the end of the day, most things are made up of squares or rectangles or circles, and that essentially is all that my rather large stock of mainly evergreen is. It's just variations. Now there are H&I section goods and stuff like that, and I've got an awful lot of those, but I rarely use them. Now it may be some of the buildings, the industrial buildings, will have overhead cranes and such like, and then I'll get through those H&I beams at a rate of knots, no doubt. So I hope you found this really informative. If you have any questions at all, please pop them in the comments and I will answer them. If there's things that you think I could have explained better in the video, again put them in the comments and I will do additional video highlighting or dealing with the question you've got. That's not a problem to me in the slightest. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. There will be a follow-on video on how I paint and weather the building. There'll also be a quick one on the lighting. That'll be in with the painting video. So that's fairly straightforward. However, that's for another time. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very much to Paul for allowing me to showcase my work on his channel. Have a great day. Enjoy your modelling.